Welcome back to episode 44 of the Queer Money Follow-Ups, where we are breaking down long ago recorded episodes of the Queer Money Podcast. So this is episode 44 based on episode 44 of the Queer Money Podcast, where we interviewed Shannon McLay. And we've got a question for you. Do you want to be one half of a financially successful gay couple? Whether you're with someone or not, I would venture to say that you probably would answer yes to that you want to be part of a financially successful gay couple. So what does it take? And what was interesting is our discussion with Shannon was really focused around her business and how she's helping individuals with which she calls the financial gym, which is a coaching practice that has physical locations to help people with their finances. But the discussion that we were having really led to a comment that she had that brought about this whole conversation and why we have pulled out this particular topic of being financially successful as gay couples. The reason we say this is because no matter who you look at, what gay couple or gay individual that's out there, almost every single one of us wants to have that appearance of being financially successful. I think that's oftentimes the reason why we see gay men who are attracted to brand name fashion, to nicer looking cars, living in the nicer neighborhoods of towns. Oftentimes we want that appearance of being successful, right? So what does it take? What does it take to be a financially successful gay couple?
Yeah, and this is actually a question we get a lot, and I think part of it, why we get it a lot, is because everything is designed to help straight couples meet, court, get married, and then manage their married life. And for a lot of same-sex couples, we got to sort of figure this out on our own. And if we don't figure it out, we have to figure out, okay, well, how can I replicate what straight couples are doing and version it for myself? How can I fit the pieces together so that it makes sense for me? So many of us, I feel like we're sort of trying to figure it out, but then we also have this competing force where we feel like I've got to always put on the presentation that I've got it figured out, right? I can't let anybody know that I don't have it figured out. So how do I figure it out when I can't ask authentic questions, and I don't necessarily have a model to build off of? And so I think that's why one of the reasons why we get this question a lot.
Yeah, and I think that there's a major fallacy that a lot of folks have when it comes to seeing individuals who are financially successful, and the fallacy that most people have is that they think that their success was easy. They think that their success was easier for them to get success than it was for me to get success. To be honest, John and I sometimes have this feeling about our own business, about how when we look at other people and the success that they're having in the personal finance space, we sometimes have a little bit of a jealousy. We think it must be easy for them because they're straight, or it must be easy for them because of, and then we have a whole bunch of things. I think that's the major fallacy that most of us have when it comes to financial success. And what's interesting is that I think that if you would ask the majority of folks would say that millionaires got their money from someone else, right? Their money came from their family, or they just stumbled upon it, right? Or they got into a business that all of a sudden gave them a bunch of wealth. But the reality is, and this is a study that Fidelity did, that 88% of millionaires, people who have assets, not including their home, have assets of $1 million or more, those individuals created that wealth themselves. Mm-hmm. So how do we create wealth? How do we create financial success? It doesn't happen by accident, right?
No, and I think one of the problems is, and it's a human fallacy, a human mistake, that we're constantly comparing our first chapters, chapters 1, 2, and 3, with somebody else's chapters 12, 13, and 14. And so we're like, okay, well, look at where this person is, and they're doing so awesome and amazing. I want to be like that, and how do I get there? And we forget about what are all the chapters in the middle that help them get there. And very often, anti-Buddhists kind of philosophy is I just want to get there as quickly as possible. I don't want to have to go through the journey.
Right.
And very often that's what credit cards allows people to do. Credit cards allows people to say, I don't have the money now. I can't really afford it. I don't have the savings, the investments, the income, whatever, but I can still get those Hermes shoes because I've got this credit card.
Right.
And so, I think that kind of adds to it. So I think the number one step that couples need to do, and we've got some tips on here, but one of the number one things I think couples need to do is to start talking about their finances, and start talking about their finances as soon as possible, and get the conversation going. Don't make it a taboo discussion. There's nothing that you can share about your financial situation with your partner that's wrong. The only thing that you can share with that person is what the current status is for both of you and what you can do to get to where you want to go. And once you start having that discussion and looking at it as a goal and somewhat of a game and working together as a team, it can be somewhat fun.
Right. I think you bring up a very interesting point. How would you feel if your partner were to come to you tomorrow and say, I've been hiding something from you. I have $50,000 in credit card debt. Or I didn't tell you this, but I have $75,000 in student loans and I haven't been making the payments on them. Or they were to come to you and say, and then we actually have an acquaintance who did this, they showed up in the driveway with a brand new car and didn't talk to their partner about it, and that caused their financial situation to be stressed. How would you feel? Right? You wouldn't want that. You would want your partner to be honest with you. And I think this is one of the you bring up that this is probably one of the foundational pieces, is that financially successful couples are honest with each other when it comes to their finances. And they want to share with each other what it is that where they are financially, but also where they want to go.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's a great way to segue into what we've prepared for today. And in that, very often people think that, a couple has to be, being on the same page means that couples are working towards the exact same goals. And we often say this, that couples don't necessarily need to have the same goals. You and I don't necessarily need to have the same goals. Just so happens that we're fortunate enough that we do. But that doesn't have to be the model for everybody. What you have to be able to do is be able to support each other in pursuit of your individual goals.
Right.
So you'll likely have some goals that overlap, that are mutual goals, and you can work on those together. And then if you have some disparate goals, it's completely fine. But you can still support each other while you work towards those goals. And part of that, in order to do that, is having the dialogue and having the honesty. And sometimes that honesty might be, hey, I know I'm pursuing this goal and I made this mistake, or this happened. I've had a setback. Can we work on this setback or this mistake together to try to get me caught up, or get us caught up to what our mutual and disparate goals are?
Right. And you also, this idea of having goals that aren't exactly the same it is important, because the further your goals are going in different directions, the more guardrails you need around your individual goals, right? So let's say, for example,
right.
I have, and I don't know if we shared this one, if you and I had this conversation, or we shared this with you all who are watching. If my goal is to save for retirement, and John's goal is to be fabulously presented, right? Let's say he really wants to look really good, right? He wants to be dressed to the nines. There's nothing wrong necessarily with wanting to look really good and spend money on your clothing. But if my goal is to save for retirement and your goal is to spend money on things that make you look good, then we know that financially those are going in different directions, right? So we need to come to some sort of agreement as to how much money you're going to spend on how you how you look and how much money I'm going to spend on saving for my retirement.
Right.
So the further apart they are, then the more you need to be cognizant of how they can cause an imbalance with each other. And I think this really kind of drives home to the reason why we wanted to share this whole topic with you is this quote from Shannon. Shannon said, "The ones who are the most successful are the ones with the most clearly defined goals."
And to be clear, when she was talking about that, she was talking about same-sex couples, the same-sex couples that she coaches at her financial gym. It wasn't even straight couples.
Right. And we have seen this as well with individuals that we work with, that when you work together on your goals, or you know what your goals are, you're going to reach them faster, right? When somebody says, "I want to lose weight," it's very different than somebody who says, "I want to lose 12 pounds by April 15th, right? There is a clearly defined path to get to losing 12 pounds by April 15th. There's not a clearly defined path to "I want to lose weight." And I think that then you can discuss that with each other, right? You can have those kinds of discussions. What would it take for us to get there? And John just popped up the screen for our 5 building blocks of a happy gay life. And there's a section in there where we talk about money and how being financially stable, but having financial confidence is one of the things that brings about happiness. If you're struggling financially, we know it's going to hurt you. So as an individual who wants to get into a relationship, or as an individual who is in a relationship that you want to be financially successful, we think that there are 3 things that you have to do.
Exactly. Number 1, as David was alluding to earlier, you want to have clearly defined goals. You want to be crystal clear on what it is you're working toward. And to be clear, you can't be working towards everything, right? Goals aren't that everything is the most important thing, right? You have to figure out what are the most important things. And so, for example, for us, we've narrowed it down to 3 things. 1, we wanted a comfortable retirement. 2, we want to be able to travel much more extensively than we ever have before, but we want to do it on cash, not come back with a credit card hangover. And 3, we want to be able to give to the LGBT community in such a way, both our time and our finances, that it didn't actually penalize us in the long run.
Right.
So that's how we figured out what our clearly defined goals are. We know what we want to contribute to the queer community every year. We know when we plan on retiring and how much money we want to have. We want to know how much money we need for travel and when we want to travel. And we haven't traveled nearly enough.
Right.
We need to do it soon.
Well, and I think you also bring up a really good point about the number of goals that you have.
Right.
Right. Because I think about when David Ray was on our podcast, he kind of jokingly said, if you want to save for a down payment on a house and all you can save is $1 a month, well, I really can't help you, right? I can't help you get to your goal because, well, how long is it going to take you to save enough money for a down payment on a house? It's going to take you thousands and thousands of months, right? And if you break your goals down into too many pieces, that means your money and your effort and your focus is going to be on too many things at once, and you're never really going to get to the end goal for any of them.
Exactly. So then tip number 2 is to collaborate on those goals. Whether your goals are similar or disparate in any way, shape, or form, you want to be able to collaborate and work on those goals together. So what this might mean is maybe you meet monthly or quarterly and do a status check of how you're progressing towards your goals. Maybe you have the thermometer, right? That you've got lists of each goals underneath the thermometer, and you can color it in as you start achieving those goals. Whatever it's going to take for you is to work as a team, open and honestly together, collaborate and work on those goals, and then support each other, especially if your goals are disparate. Because even though a goal, like, for example, owning an Audi is not necessarily something that I desire, but I want him to be happy.
He will eventually.
But I want him to be happy. And so it's important for us to be able to work on that goal together. somehow or another, I'm the one that's always wanted the French bulldogs, and suddenly David is the one that can't stop watching.
Same or not, you get to be each other's cheerleader. You get to celebrate when you have wins. You get to support each other when things aren't going as well as you would want them to be, but you still can support each other when that happens. And I'm going to call bullshit if you're going to tell me that you wouldn't want your partner supporting you in your goals. Every single one of us would want our partner supporting each other.
That's a sign of a healthy relationship.
Yes, exactly.
Tip number 3 then is to invest in financial health as much as your physical health. Gay men, we have this obsession with working on our physical health, and that's fabulous. I love looking at the Instagram pictures of the hot men. But we sort of neglect our financial health. And your financial health is very important. It's almost as important as your physical health, especially as we get older. So don't neglect that. And we have 3 sub-tips to help you out with your financial goals, with your financial health. One, have a goal tracker, similarly to that thermometer I was talking about, or get the Budget Buster bundle at debt-free-guys.com, or you can go through the credit card payoff plan to get the spending analysis. Whatever it is that you need to have it to track your finances, do it.
Yeah.
2, commit to your cash flow. How much money do you have coming in, and exactly where is that money going to go each month? How much of that's going to go to your non-discretionary expenses? How much of that is going to get divided up to reach each of your mutual and individual goals? You want to make sure that you're crystal clear on where all that money is coming from and where that's going. Slow, progressive steps over time are going to get you to whatever your long-term goal is.
Right.
And then finally, as we said earlier, make sure you talk about your goals or your finances regularly. David and I probably talk about our finances every day. That's probably because of the job that we have.
Right.
But meet weekly, meet monthly, meet quarterly, whatever works for you. Make sure you're having that conversation. It's so critically important to your financial success, as well as the success of your relationship, because one of the top 3 reasons why people separate is because they can't get on the same page financially. And a lot of that is because they're not having a conversation.
Yeah, you have to remember, there are no oopsies and there are no surprises when it comes to achieving these kinds of goals when you're having conversations with each other about achieving your goals. And none of us like that. None of us like the oopsie or the surprises that something is not working the way that we want it to be.
You need to get sound effects for this because I'm hearing whoopsie. It needs to be like a spirally noisy thing. So let us know in the comments section below if you would like to be a part at 1/2 or 1/3 or whatever number of people are in your relationship. You would like to have that percentage of your success of your partnership to be a financial success.
For you to say, right? You just want to be a financial success, and we want you to be a financial success
exactly.
too.
That's
right?
exactly why we're here. And I don't know what you're doing with everything. You've moved everything around. I don't know exactly what I'm following. So thank you for joining us for another Career Money Follow-Up. Here is your Career Money Follow-Up takeaway from this episode. As we've been promoting, please go to debtfreeguys.com/happy to get your free copy of the 5 building blocks of a happy gay life. And then, as we said earlier, let us know in the comment section below whether or not you want to be one part or a part of a financially successful gay couple. Then join us tomorrow for Career Money Podcast episode number 45, where we do follow-up 45, where we are going to talk about how to become
a super gay.
And we're not sure yet whether or not it's going to require capes.
Right. Yeah. So
capes,
make
right?
sure you turn on notifications and subscribe to the channel so you're notified when we go live tomorrow for the discussion on how to be a super gay. And as always, we appreciate it if you subscribe to the Queer Money Podcast.
Exactly. And we will talk to you tomorrow.
Sounds
Thank you.
good. Bye-bye.